Do ancient texts speak of a 12th planet that orbits at a 3,600-year cycle? Or is it possible that the Earth was visited by ancient astronauts in our distant past? Can you tell that I'm doing a parody of the Ancient Astronaut Show? Welcome to Skywatch TV. I'm Derek Gilbert. This is a special web-exclusive broadcast as we get ready for Halloween by discussing spiritual warfare. And today we talk about the links between ancient alien theory and the occult. Joining me on the panel, the author of the new book Saboteurs and Skywatch TV's CEO Tom Horn.
Good to be here.
And the author of the Red Wing Saga, a series of fiction that teaches spiritual warfare through storytelling. Book 1, Blood Lies. Book 2, brand new from Rose Avenue Fiction, Blood Rights. Sharon K. Gilbert.
Hi, sweetie. Your hair's not nearly tall enough.
It isn't.
That's what I was thinking.
It isn't, but there's only so much room on this 16:9 screen, so we can't do. He does have a tendency to do that. They don't make statements; they just ask questions. Is it possible that? And all the time I'm answering no. But in researching the forthcoming book that Josh, I was honored to co-write with Josh Peck, and to be honest, he did most of the writing in the book. But the section I dealt with really dug into the origins of the whole ancient aliens theory, which is so prominent. I mean, it's in its 12th season on television, that show. It really derives from the occult. Mm-hmm. And you can draw very strong connections, connecting the dots with, starting with the Spiritism movement, Emanuel Swedenborg in the 18th century, and from him to Helena Blavatsky, who built on the spiritualist movement founded by the...
Who was very big in the 19th century, which the era when I wrote. In fact, she lived in London.
Exactly, yeah. So Blavatsky should show up in that series.
Oh, she will be.
And so should Aleister Crowley, who comes after her.
Will be too.
Because they both believed, as did Swedenborg, that they were hearing from entities on other worlds. Yeah. Swedenborg believed they were angels living elsewhere in the solar system. Blavatsky said, no, they're the masters of ascended wisdom or ascended masters of wisdom who are guiding humanity's development. Crowley thought he was hearing from Egyptian gods, and specifically an aspect of the god Horus. So he was kicking off the Aeon of Horus around 1904. From there, you get the Crowley's acolyte, who was named his successor of the Ordo Templi Orientis, the OTO, his secret society, Kenneth Grant, who detected what he called a Sirius Set current, or a Set Sirius current, referring to the Egyptian god of chaos, Set, and the star Sirius. And so he believed, okay, now we're moving from the Aeon of Horus into the Aeon of Set, this Aeon of chaos, and we need to learn how to master chaos, and we're not going to be destroyed. But interestingly, Grant thought that the horror fiction author H.P. Lovecraft, who created the Cthulhu mythos, and Cthulhu was this monstrous octopus-headed, tentacled, scaly being with bat-like wings who lay dreaming in his giant city under the sea, waiting for the stars to get right so he would awaken and summon the great old ones to return to Earth. Again, this idea that there are gods out there who created us in our distant past and are just waiting to return. Well, his work, according to Grant, was drawing on the same spiritual source as Aleister Crowley. And in fact, researcher Peter Levenda points out that in 1907, Halloween, Crowley was channeling whatever it was that was talking to him. It wasn't an Egyptian god, it was something claiming to be. He wrote down the word Cthulhu for the first time. Claimed to have no idea what it meant. Cthulhu. October 31st and November 1st, as he was channeling some of the books that became the holy books of his religion, Thelema. In 1926, H.P. Lovecraft, in writing the story, The Call of Cthulhu, placed the discovery of the little statue of Cthulhu on October 31st, that very night in 1907.
The very year.
The very year and very day that Crowley... Now, according to Grant, according to Levenda, Lovecraft didn't know who Crowley was. May have heard of him, had no idea about his work. Lovecraft claimed to be an atheist all his life. But the odds of this happening, of Crowley writing down Cthulhu and Lovecraft coming up with that and placing the discovery of this thing on the very night in his story that Crowley was channeling this, just astronomical.
Astronomical, and I would suggest perhaps they were channeling something.
Right.
Agents of deception. which even some of the secular researchers into ufology and the whole idea about alien abduction, some of the best.
Right.
Who is the French Jacques Vallée.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Saying that, after all of those years of research and interviewing people who were abductees, and who was the psychologist that...
Dr. John Mack.
Yeah, they got hit by a car and killed. That they all came to a similar type of conclusion, that whatever this is, it seems to be nearly identical to the age-old theological discussion around demonology and demon possession and demonic activity. Now, I was thinking as you were talking, and you know these facts better than I do, but that this isn't just an antiquated idea with Lovecraft and Crowley and guys like that, but a lot of the modern people in the UFO circle are also still saying that they're incommunicado.
Right.
They're talking with these entities right now, right, about the forthcoming official disclosure. Some of this was picked up in the recent WikiLeaks discoveries. But from what I understand, because you guys just came back recently from Roswell, what was that? Was it their 70th?
70th, which is why we went, because biblically that's an important number.
Yeah, for the 70th. And you talked to a lot of the people that were there, not just Mike Heiser. You did that too. And in fact, we're going to be giving away kind of a quasi-documentary where you went behind the scenes with a lot of the experts in this field and talked to them about, are we moving towards official disclosure? If we are, why do you think we are? And what is the spiritual element behind this? But you found out there were people in the that are members of like MUFON or whatever. They don't like some of the other people talking about being in contact with spirits, right?
Right, yeah. MUFON has been co-opted at a very high level by the Ancient Aliens crowd. And this idea that there is a secret space program and that entities are in contact with us, the Ashtar Command or whatever, are communicating via telepathy with certain contactees here on Earth. Now, I have no doubt that those contactees, at least some of them, are hearing from something.
Sure.
But it's like Aleister Crowley, it's like Kenneth Grant, it's like Helena Blavatsky. Whatever they're hearing from ain't who they think it is, or who they're claiming it is. And it was the work of of Crowley through H.P. Lovecraft, who inspired this whole idea of the old gods coming back. They created us and they're coming back. Inspired Eric von Daniken to write Chariots of the Gods, and then in 1976 inspired Zecharia Sitchin to write the 12th Planet. Planet Nibiru is coming back, and that's where the Anunnaki live, and the Anunnaki, who were the Sumerian gods, really created humanity, and they're going to come back, and who knows what will happen then. But there are people today who still believe that they are channeling contact from these ascended masters or whatever. In fact, one of them is a New Age teacher is the nice way to put it. Some would call her a cult leader who is a member of the MUFON Inner Circle. There are 13 members of the MUFON Inner Circle.
13, eh?
13, yes.
And I always find these numbers interesting, right? The 13, but also the 9, part of who they believe.
Another group that was channeled by
essentially the Ennead.
Yeah, the 9 being the 9 principal gods of the Egyptian pantheon, who began
channeled by people like associated with the helicopter, really influential people of wealth.
Right. People,
power.
Old money, the Astor family, the Forbes family, the Payne family, who go back, hundreds of years in the United States. From the early 50s through the late 70s, through various channelers, all connected through a CIA operative by the name of Dr. Andrea Puharich, who worked for the CIA for years, basically on mind control and stuff like that. But this was one of his projects, his round table, where he would get this group together that believed they were channeling this group of gods from outer space called the 9. In fact, one of the periodic members of the group was Gene Roddenberry, the creator of Star Trek, who later went on to write a movie treatment based on the 9. Never went anywhere, but it did kind of show up in Deep Space Nine.
Yeah, a little bit.
So the thing that I have to ask, and this is hopefully in the spirit of Jacques Vallée, who question some true believers in the UFO movement about the existence of the base, supposed base at Dulce, New Mexico,
Right.
this big underground base where alien grays and humans are working together. And he just asked, who takes out the garbage?
Right.
I mean, where's the power coming from? I mean, there would be a heat signature you could see from any satellite in space, and they were like, no, it's got to be there.
Alien technology doesn't work that way.
E-
Right? They have a
exactly.
different kind of an incinerator.
I guess. But that's my question, is if we are being contacted by extraterrestrials, why is it all by telepathy? I mean, if these people had the technology to overcome the problems of how do we shield the craft against interstellar radiation, how do we overcome the energy requirements needed to get from here to there, have they not yet figured out how to work a radio or invent a webcam?
But now, haven't most of the people in the serious parts, like MUFON and whatever, they've moved more to this idea of parallel realities.
They have, yeah.
And it's not really a nuts and bolts
Right.
craft that's back craft.
Well, and that's the thing. Is it
That's
the serious researchers, and I mean that in terms of gravitas, not the star system Sirius,
Sure.
which plays an important role in this whole mythos. They are not happy that MUFON has gone in this direction. They just kind of embraced this this ultimate reality, this contiguous universe, which was a phrase that showed up in the WikiLeaks emails released from John Podesta. They're not happy about it because it's basically accepting unquestioningly. Unlike Jacques Vallée, who takes out the garbage? How did they get here? And if they're here and they crossed, light years of space to get here, why can't they just pick up the phone? Why are they using telepathy to try to talk to us?
But I think that also is another part. The way some of them would answer that is that there was a reason for stealth. There's a reason for timing. We're moving towards an official disclosure moment. This is a lot of what you guys are going to be dealing with in November and December on the day the Earth stands still, where you're dealing hypothetically with this idea that, okay, the WikiLeaks, according to WikiLeaks, we were moving towards official disclosure in 2017. Even representatives from the Vatican talking to Podesta about this. Do they know something that we don't know? And if you do a little bit of mental gymnastics and ask yourself the question, okay, what would happen if all of a sudden we wake up tomorrow morning and everybody from the Pope to the President are standing in the well of the United Nations saying, folks, we have an announcement to make, right?
Well, biblically, we know that something is coming that Jesus refers to as the strong delusion.
Yeah, and that is the other part of this is, and that thought has kind of come back around. When I was a young pastor, well, I wasn't really young, but I was in the 70s, so a lot younger than now, right?
The long hair, too.
Yeah, and, well, not when I was a pastor, but just before.
Yeah.
They made me cut my hair. That's sad. It's just so sad. Anyway.
I'm never going to get over that.
Now I wished I had it to cut, but be that what it is. Now I fit in with the whole UFO globe orb kind
There we
of
go.
But I think that would be one of their answers as well. There's a reason now, because don't forget that it was only a couple of decades ago in which even university level philosophers were saying that even the discovery of a microorganism on another world could create a giant ripple effect through religion that would challenge the notion or the idea of our human exceptionalism, as Wesley Smith calls it, that there's something different about Earth, that it's a special place. I think a lot of philosophers and theologians today, and not just in the Catholic Church, have changed their mind about that, and they no longer believe that would be the challenge to our orthodoxy or to our faith, and therefore maybe we're ready now for official disclosure, and so they can stop communicating psychically with the little group on the inside, right? And they can just come out now and make themselves known to humanity for what they are.
Well, we'll talk about that in the next segment. But
what was that old movie where it turns out that the aliens were actually what we would think of as the devil? Remember that old book that was...
Arthur C. Clarke, Childhood's End.
Childhood's End.
Yes.
Another reason they may not have made themselves known for what they actually are is because it would scare us. And in Childhood's End, they come and they just stay in the ship and they only have one or two people they'll talk to, right?
Yeah.
And then finally at the end, when the world is ready, then they reveal themselves, and isn't it glorious that the very persons that we have always thought of as the devil and his angels are actually our saviors and our heroes.
Right, yeah. Well, we talk about this because, frankly, the entire UFO phenomenon, and especially the contactee phenomenon, is